Yeah, no, so I can appreciate that. I was hoping that you fine chairs of the housing committee would have brought up more detail about what is actually in the proposal. Certainly, I'm sympathetic to people that are struggling in this era with their bills. I think a lot of folks are finding themselves in that position, maybe more so than ever. But I just want to say a couple of things about this. I mean, my understanding is that this bill is going to effectively cap the amount that a landowner can charge to a mobile home unit owner at 2.5% per year. And notwithstanding that, I also know that there is another bill that we're looking forward to in this committee that would cap rents for all types of property at 3%. And I just want to express a little concern over this, because I'm honestly concerned and confused, Madam Chairman, why this and other bills that I think are openly hostile to housing providers are even before this committee. I'm pretty sure that I've heard both the chairs and a number of folks that serve on this committee, as well as leadership, quoted in the newspaper recently saying that the number one issue facing in Connecticut is a lack of affordable housing units. And I'm just not sure how you can say that on one hand and then put forward policies that are, in my mind, specifically designed to harm housing providers in a way that is sure to diminish their participation in the marketplace. Everyone knows that rent controls do not work. You can look at this historically and you can find loads of information on the subject. And to push for a 2.5% or even a 3% cap today, when inflation is around 8% and many, many more things are much more than that, is absurd in my mind. I mean, eggs are 3 times what they cost a year ago. I don't know why there's no cap on the price of eggs. We just had a press conference earlier today about the rising cost of electricity. I think electric rates are something that is driving up the cost of everything. Not to mention the government's role. You know, we've got a brand new highway use fee that's adding to the cost of every good and service delivered in the state. There's a lot of things driving up costs. And I will have a lot more to say about this, if this bill goes forward and other ones like it. I can promise you that. But we need to be very aware that it's the government, probably more than any other entity, that is driving up costs. The number one factor in inflation is the printing of money by the federal government. That should be an issue that we should be discussing. Anyway, I'll just say a few brief words about the notion of rent caps before we move on, because it is my hope that the chairs reconsider this action. I really do hope that they take a hard look about whether or not we want to damage the housing providers in this state in a way that is going to discourage them from providing more affordable housing if that is the end goal. These types of policies effectively discriminate against people searching for housing. They may benefit the people that are currently in a housing situation by preventing them from being forced out by the market, but they are also simultaneously discouraging against people who might be searching for property. And ultimately, we're doing nothing but hurting the property owner. Rent controls prevent property owners from investing in their property. Why would you want to put money into your property to maintain, or much less improve it, if you're being told that you can only raise the rent a tiny fraction each month, rather than invest in your property to make it nicer so you could command more rent? You wouldn't do that because it would make no sense to. You can also guarantee that if you pass a certain percentage of a rent cap, that the tenants will face that every year, because the landowner has no choice, because they can't predict the future when they might need to raise the rents 20%. So they're going to take their 2.5% every year. They're not going to skip a year. They're just going to do it because they got no other alternative. Maybe the thing that bothers me the most about this type of policy, it is as much like the policy that we have in this building when it comes to employers and employees, which is this constant desire for the government to insert itself in between and create, enemies of the parties, people that should be working together. I've been an employer and an employee many times throughout my life, and I've always worked with my counterpart whichever one that was at any given time, for the success of our company and both of us. And, I'm a landlord as well, and I've always had a good working relationship with my tenants. And sometimes my tenants have come to me and said, hey, Rob, would you do this? There's the garage in the back, and we've never been able to use it since the very beginning because X, Y, Z. But if you fix up the garage, we'd be more than happy to pay a higher rent. Do you want to stop me from fixing up the garage? Anyway, I think it's dangerous to create this type of relationship between landlords and tenants where they're on opposing sides and they're going to come and look to the government to come and use the force of law to damage the other party. And as I said from the outset, I am unbelievably sympathetic to the people that find themselves in this position. I totally know it. Some of these people are my neighbors. I met a lot of people who live in mobile homes while I was knocking on doors during the campaign, and I have some constituents that contact me regularly for lots of issues. And I totally get it. I also deal with a lot of senior citizens who are facing all kinds of problems because their Social Security just doesn't cut it. It's not enough to pay their electric bill or their rent or the rising food prices, and I totally get that. But I encourage everyone to pay attention to what's driving up those prices. And to remember that in America, individual property rights are sacrosanct. No one should have the right to tell another person what they should do with their property. And this will come out kind of like a tough love sentence, but let me ask every mobile unit owner if they would like it if the government came along and told them they could only sell their units for 70% of their value. They wouldn't like that very much, would they? But that is effectively the exact same thing we are doing if we cap the rent for the landowner. This is dangerous policy, ladies and gentlemen. We really should not do it. And we shouldn't also allow policies to move forward that try and paint the profit motive as immoral. Because the profit motive is what has given us in this great country the quality of life that we have. It is people searching to benefit themselves, to buy a little house and fix it up and rent it out, or to fix up a car and sell it, or whatever. People wanting to better themselves to afford more things is what has given us the quality of life. That's what capitalism is, the free, unfettered exchange of things between citizens. And it's a beautiful moral thing because there's no force. No one's telling anyone that they have to do anything. But when we empower the government to get on one side of the equation of a transaction, we are asking for trouble. It is dangerous. Again, sorry for taking up so much of the committee's time on simply the raising of a concept, but this, in my mind, is a very dangerous concept. There is a reason why the state of Connecticut has not gone down this path before. The legislature's been meeting for hundreds of years now, and we haven't done this. And there is a good reason why. It is bad policy, and it is un-American. Thank you, Madam Chairman.